So this is part 2 of my should you upgrade your 6800 XT video, and we'll jump right into it. We're going to take a look at Baldur's Gate 3 first because I really love this game. It's one of my favorite games in a very long time. It's quite popular, not particularly demanding, but you'll be able to get a very good experience with the 6800 XT here at 4K. We're only going to look at 4K, check the game out for a little bit, and then move on to the next game. What you're going to notice here as well is that the 1% lows can be quite bad. And the reason for that is it seems that whenever you're fighting, whenever it's the enemy's turn and then it becomes your turn, there seems to be like a drop in frame time. So like a stutter. I mean, you don't really feel it because just the way the combat works, you know, your turn comes up. So while you're actually playing, it's fine. Even though it's not extremely smooth, but it's fine. With this type of gameplay, it's not that bad. But it is something that will show up very negatively on 1% lows, of course. And this is something that happens during combat, or maybe in a conversation. But while you're moving around the world, it feels fine. So there are some areas that are a bit more demanding. Like I've heard the Baldur's Gate city itself is very demanding. So I haven't made it there yet because I don't rush through games like this. I usually like to take my time and just enjoy it. But overall, I mean, these 6800 XT will be able to give you a 4K high refresh rate experience for the most part. And the way I play these games usually is with a frame rate cap. So for example, this game I'm playing it with a 80 frames per second cap just because I like a more consistent experience. And there's really no need to run this game at, you know, 100 something frames per second. It's just I kind of like to run a more efficient setup whenever possible. So yeah, that's how I play it. We'll just jump to the end of the fight now, and then we're gonna look at Jedi Survivor next.
That might be worth a look.
This is Jedi Survivor at 4K Epic, no ray tracing, and this is quite a demanding game actually. We can even see the 7900 XTX right at 60, 70 FPS, but the 6800 XT unfortunately cannot provide a 4K 60 experience here, even without ray tracing, obviously. It's a very demanding game. So, I mean, it's not to say that you couldn't play it like this with a VRR display. But what we're going to do is we're going to turn on FSR quality here. And then leave 7900 XTX at native. So right now we have FSR quality on the 6800 XT. And it's very playable at 4K 60 with FSR. So it does look great on a LG C1. It's kind of what I'm using to record this. Very fun to play game. I beat this game. This is a very good game. Unfortunately had a lot of performance issues which have since been improved greatly, but it still needs a bit of work. But yeah, highly recommend this game.
I need one.
And now that I got my ass kicked, we can move on to 1440p. It's been a while since I played this game. Here we are at 1440p native, no ray tracing. The 7900 XTX is CPU bound, so that's why the FPS looks to be about the same. And the 6800 XT is doing great here. It's a great 1440p card, even in these new games, so there's no problems here at all. You get nice, smooth gameplay. The 1% lows are good on both sides. So I think we actually have some room to check out what ray tracing looks like on the 6800 XT. So I ended up checking that out, and we're going to take a look at that and see what it looks like without any upscaling. It's just going to be native 1440p. Here we go.
Go.
we'll take a look at this sequence again, and yeah, we can get a 60 FPS experience here. Now, there are going to be areas in this game that are probably going to be more demanding, and the ray tracing in this game can be quite demanding, but for right now, it looks pretty good. And if you had to, you could always enable FSR or maybe tone down some of the graphical settings. Unfortunately, the ray tracing is just a toggle in this game, so you can't really tweak it that much. But on a VRR display, if it stays like this, it's definitely very, very playable. So yeah, I think that'll be it for Jedi Survivor. We'll just move on to the next game then.
Attention. All security personnel report to the main cell block. This is not a drill. Please, remain calm. There is nothing to fear.
What the hell? Something's not right. Oh my god.
So here's the Callisto Protocol at 4K native, no ray tracing. And this is another really good game that I ended up enjoying that kind of became underrated, I suppose. But it is a very demanding game. And the performance can fluctuate quite a bit, especially when you enable ray tracing. But right now, I think you can have a 4K 60 experience with the 6800 XT. Yeah, there's going to be some more demanding areas, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to jump around and we're going to look at a combat sequence in a second, and then we're going to look at 1440p where I feel the 6800 XT is more at home. And then we're also going to look at a bit of ray trace reflections as well at 1440p native on the 6800 XT.
What the fuck is going on? I don't know what the hell's going on.
I remember when I first got to this area, and this fighting sequence is brutal, man. It's probably gonna get age restricted for this, but I don't care. But yeah, this is a demanding area. This is one of those demanding areas where performance can drop quite a bit. And as you can see, the 6800 XT is below 50 FPS in some of these fighting sequences that are quite demanding. But we'll look at 1440p next, where I feel the 6800 XT excels at.
Stop! Wait! You or me? Oh my god.
Remaining yourself. Anomaly detected.
Connect to Black Iron security net.
All response teams mobilized.
So here we are at 1440p native. You can see the 6800 XT is doing really well here. 7900 XTX is CPU bound a little bit, so it can do a bit better if we had a better CPU. But yeah, the 6800 XT is a really good 1440p card, but we're gonna have to look at that fighting sequence again because those are the more demanding parts in this game, and there's also more demanding areas in particular, but that fighting sequence should present the worst case scenario. And then I'm going to take a look at some ray trace reflections native at 1440p. So let's jump on that fighting sequence.
Got another one!
This is one of the more demanding areas, and yeah, the 1600 XT is able to remain above 60 FPS, no problem. So yeah, 6800 XT, 1440p in this game works great.
Stop! Wait! You or me?
Here we are at 1440p native with ray trace reflections on high only, and yeah, the reflections in this game look really nice. You can see them here on the right, on the window, on the glass, and also see them on the floor, on the metal floor. The doors and bars reflecting. It actually looks really nice. I mean, usually the AMD sponsored titles with ray tracing often have you know, not very demanding ray tracing in them and often one effect, but the Callisto Protocol is an exception. The ray tracing in this game actually looks beautiful. I did a comparison between the PS5, which uses medium ray trace reflections, and right now we're using high ray trace reflections, which actually look quite a bit better. Jedi Survivor is also another game AMD sponsored that has really good ray tracing and multiple effects, but I really enjoyed it in this game. I think it adds to the immersion quite a bit playing with them on. And yeah, we're gonna look at this fighting sequence again, which is the most demanding part of this game, is these sequences, these fighting sequences. And yeah, we do drop below 60, but it's actually not bad. If you're playing on a VRR display, you're gonna be doing just fine. So very playable at 1440p with high ray trace reflections in this game.
Stop! Wait!
You and me.
Next is Cyberpunk, and we're going to use the built-in benchmark. We're going to look at 4K, 4K with FSR, 1440p, and 1440p with ray tracing. So right now it's 4K native, and I'll also show the results of the benchmarks for both cards in the end. So if you want to look at them in more detail, just pause the video. Here is 4K Ultra with FSR on quality. And yeah, this game is a bit too demanding for the 6800 XT to run at 4K, even with FSR on quality. I suppose you could lower the FSR setting, but I personally don't think it looks that great. So, but at 1440p, it actually runs really well. This was one of the first games I played when I bought my 6800 XT back in December 2020, and it was such a blast to play. It was a really fun game to play, despite its problems. On my PC anyway, it ran pretty well. I had no issues, really, except some minor bugs. But yeah, anyway, we'll look at this benchmark and then jump onto 4040p. Here we are at 1440p native, no ray tracing, ultra settings. The 6800 XT is doing very, very well. 7900 XTX is 50% plus ahead. And yeah, very good playable performance with the 6800 XT here. It's how I played the game, and I really enjoyed it. We're going to look at FSR quality with ray trace reflections next. here we are again at 1440p, ultra settings, FSR quality, and ray trace reflections on only. And we get a very playable 60 FPS experience here, no problem. I think it actually looks great. The reflections in this game look amazing. I definitely feel they add to the immersion. For me anyway, I do like the eye candy. So yeah, it's a very playable experience. I wouldn't personally drop below quality setting at 1440p with FSR. I don't think it looks that great. Although at 1440p quality, it looks okay. It doesn't look bad at all. So yeah, this is going to be it for this video, and just a look at the 6800 XT. If you guys like this, please like the video and leave a comment if you have anything to say and or suggestions. If you want me to look at anything else, I'd be happy to do it if I can. Thank you.